Spencer. Let's go and have some adventures. Let's go and have some adventures with Thomas. Let's go and have some adventures. Sodor's a fun place to be. Sodor's greatest adventures. Sodor's greatest adventures.
It was a very white day on the island Sodor. However, in fact, it was snow. Express coming true! Hello, Gordon, said Rebecca. Snow has returned to the island of Sodor once again, and the engines have their plows on. Is it cold weather today? Said Neil to Spencer as Neil was backing down unloading some of her trucks. Indeed it is, said Spencer. I must take my goods train now. Goodbye. Spencer puffed away. The engines were busy hauling passengers and freight throughout the day. Hello, Percy. Hello, Thomas, said Percy. But one day, trouble was about to strike. All the engines were being careful except for Emily. Emily, said Philip, you're late for your goods train. I'm sorry, Philip, she said. My passage train got hit by a faulty signal that caused the snow. Still, said Philip, you better go on your way. Well, thanks, Philip, and Emily raced off. Emily, of course, is a rescue engine, like James. However, the problem was, originally, she was causing a lot of trouble for Rebecca when James and Henry went on the best friend's day out together. However, she promised she wanted to stop her behavior, but as a rescue engine, behavior just got bad, and she kept causing trouble as well. She was being in the behavior originally, like when she wanted to be an announcer engine, like James and Henry, or when he and Seamty got stuck up at Osef Castle. So she has been in a terrible but bad behavior. The trouble was about to strike. Up on Emily's track, a snow slide has fallen onto the tracks, and it was huge. Emily saw this. She knew as a rescue and she should stop, but she wanted to make up for lost time. As a rescue engine, she said, I must charge that snow. Charge! As she went at full speed. But the snow was so big that Emily failed to. She got stuck in the snow and landed on her side. Ouch, Emily. Her tender also fell. Luckily, the trucks went through her. Luckily, no one was hurt. Emily quick got just in time, but Emily was landed on her side. She couldn't get the snow out. Just then, Edward popped into view. He saw the landslide and saw Emily. Emily, are you okay? He asked. I'm fine, said Emily, but I was trying to charge the snow by you fall off the tracks. Don't worry, I'll get help, he said, and Edward raced off. Back at the crash site, James arrived with the Chinese breakdown cranes. They soon got the trucks back on the tracks. Now they just had to get Emily her tender. Ryan was also there. He was sent to take Emily to the steamworks. Toby also came to the crash site. The back controller ordered him to take Emily's trucks. There we are, said Toby. Be good, said James. Now, Toby, are you sure you're strong enough to take all those trucks? Said Ryan. I'll be fine, said Toby. Edward came back with the Fat Controller on board. The Fat Controller stepped out of his cab and walked over to Emily very crossly. Emily, you have been causing a lot of trouble originally. First, it was the headset problem, with James and Henry being announcer engines. Then it was, well, I'm not sure how you count it, but you and the steam thing getting stuck in Osef Castle. but I'm probably not going to count that since it was all of you. Then it was when you and Rebecca caused trouble and you fell into the river. And now this? I'm sorry, sir, said Emily. For that, unfortunately, Emily, since as a rescue engine like you, I am suspending you from being a rescue engine. Emily was surprised. You mean I can't rescue any engines? No, said the Rat Controller. But this is unfair, said Emily. Who's going to do my work? I don't know, said the Rat Controller. James can't patrol the island on his own, you know. To be honest, she has a fair point, said James. I think engines... I won't be the right suit for a rescue, sir, said Edward. I'm far too old. I'll be too small, said Toby. And I'll be busy on my branch line with Daisy, said Ryan. The Rat Controller thinked and thinked. Then he had an idea. I know just the right engine for the job, he said. But anyways, Toby takes these trucks away. Yes, sir. And Toby puffed away to get the trucks back on schedule. Now, James, get back to work with Emily. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, said James. And Ryan, get Emily to the steamworks. Yes, sir, said Ryan. It was not long before that Emily and the attendant were soon back on the tracks. I'm sorry to say, Emily was damaged, of course, including her plough. Hang on, said Ryan, I may have to go and turn around. Ryan soon came back and puffed up to Emily. There, that should do the trick, he said. See you later then, guys, and Ryan puffed away. Now, you better go back to work, James. Yes, sir. James puffed away. The factor walked over to Edward. Come on, Edward, said the Rat Controller. I know just the right engine for the job. We need to get the snow slide clear. Yes, sir, said Edward. But who's the engine you're looking for, sir? Later that day, Henry was in Vickers yards. He was just resting when the Rat Controller arrived. Edward dropped the bag off a napkin and the factory got in his car. Henry, I have a very important job for you. What's that, sir? Asked Henry. Emily has an accident again, said the Rat Controller. For that, I'm suspending her being a rescue engine. So, said the Rat Controller, I want you to take her place. Wait, really, sir? said Henry. Yes, said the Rat Controller. I want you to take her place. Oh, sir, I'll be honored, said Henry. But are you sure me staying at Bookerstown is a bad idea for being a rescue at the moment? Yes, said the Rat Controller, but I have a perfect plan. For a few couple of nights until Emily returns, I want you, Henry, to stay at Titmus Sheds. Henry was surprised. Me? Stay at Titmus Sheds? Yes, said the Rat Controller. Kind of the best choice, to be honest. Will you do it? Yes, sir, said Henry. I wonder what it'll be like living at Titmus Sheds again, said Henry. Good, off you go then. Henry went off to the rest of his work. Later that evening at Titmus Sheds, the rest of the members of the steam team were there. They still had their snowplows on when they saw Henry popping into view. Hello, Henry, they all said. What brings you to Titmus Sheds? Oh, said Henry, have you not heard? What heard? Asked Spencer. Emily has been suspended for being a rescue engine. What? Said Gordon. Emily being suspended from rescue? What has she done now? The last time I remember her causing trouble was when I had to get Julie and Jerome, and Jerry had to pull her out of the sea when you two were trying to go on a day out. Yes, said Rebecca, I also remember that. Me too, said Percy. Oh, she crashed into a snow avalanche, or snow slide, whatever, said Henry, and she was trying to make up for lost time. That's a bit, well, silly, said Nia. Yes, said Thomas. I too, said Spencer. We all remember how Rebecca got stuck in the snow once. Oh yes, said Rebecca, and you two and Diesel had to help me out. Quite right, said Spencer. Anyway, said Henry, so I'm going to be staying at the sheds for a few days until Emily returns. Then I'm probably going to head back to Vicarstown. Well, said Thomas, it's great to see you back at the sheds. It's been a while since you've been in one of these berths. Indeed, said Gordon. I still remember the good old days. Not trying to offend Rebecca, Neil, and Spencer, you know. The other one just chuckled. This doesn't mean I'm part of the team. I'm still a former member, you know. True, said Nia. You know, said Percy, it's good to see you back in the sheds again, he said, but this is not the same without James and Edward. Ah, yes, said Henry. I remember the good old days. I remember other ones like Toby or Duck used to say, or Donald Douglas, you know. Yeah. Still, said Thomas. It's good to see you keep the sheds for a while. Anyways, we better get some sleep. Yeah, said Henry. It is evening, you know. With that, the engines went to sleep. Meanwhile, over at Throne's Gate, aka James' station, it was still evening. James and Ivor were in their berths. Oh, said Ivor, that was a busy day, wasn't it? Yes, said James. I'm very surprised. I feel sorry for Emily being suspended, but at the same time, you know, she was causing trouble originally. True, said Ivor. I hope Donald and Douglas have their snowplows on tomorrow, because I think I heard there's more weather forecast. So we drive a from the weather forecast, there's more snow on the way. Heavy? Definitely, said Ivor. Then James had an idea. I know, said James. Maybe tomorrow I can bring the Chinese breakdown coins with me, and maybe if I see Donald and Douglas, I can ask them that I can go on patrol with them. Besides, if we get them a proper chance to see my, nameplates. Okay. But the engine knew Henry was being the rescue engine in Emily's place. But they went off to sleep. The next morning, the island was covered in snow again, and Ivor's driver was right from the weather forecast. A huge snowstorm hit the island last night during the night, and snow was everywhere. James and Ivor were surprised by this. Whoa, said James. That's huge. I know, said Ivor. No time for this lot, said James. I better go and get a couple of the Chinese breakdown coins and look for Donald and Douglas. James raced on to the turntable. Then he switched tracks and buffed up the Chinese breakdown coins that were resting in the goods sheds. Better get going, said James. See you later, Ivor. Goodbye, James, said Ivor. James puffed through the Chinese breakdown coins. The next morning, meanwhile at Tempest Sheds in the morning, the steam team and Henry were waking up. When a workman came over to Henry. I just got some news from the factory that he also wants you to do Henry's work. Alright, said Henry. I suppose I could do her work as well as mine, said Henry. Good luck with it, said the steam team. Thanks. Henry puffed onto the turntable and puffed away. Throughout the whole day, Henry took Emily's passengers in Emily's coaches, as well as pulling her goods trains. And he kept informing the water and coal. It was hard work, but Henry was determined to make the factory happy to get things on schedule. Meanwhile, James was still on patrol. He was clearing some of the snow with Chinese breakdown cranes. He was still trying to look for Donald and Douglas. Soon, James stopped at a signal. I really want to work with Donald and Douglas. Besides, they're very good at clearing snow, and I would like to show them off my nameplates. Just then, James heard 2 deep tone whistles. Wait, is that them? Indeed it was. It was Donald and Douglas. Hi, James, said Donald. Good to see you there. Indeed, said Douglas. Hey, you two, said James. Are you clearing the snow? Well, somebody's going to have to, they said. I see, said James. Well, I was wondering, since I'm a rescue engine, how about we clear the snow together? Don and Douglas looked at each other and looked at James. All right, laddie, they said. You can join us. Thanks, said James. And besides, I do have nameplates, you know. Donald and Douglas noticed James's nameplates. They were surprised. Laddie, do you copy our nameplates? Well, no, kind of, said James. But I always wanted to have nameplates. You know, like how engines like Spencer has them. All right, laddie. Aye, said Douglas. I suppose it's all right having nameplates like ours. Aye, said Donald, just because we're like twins. Yeah, you know, like Splatter and Dodge, or Bill and Ben, you know. I see, laddie, said Donald. Anyways, wait, how about you tag along with us? Yeah, said Douglas. Sure, said James, and maybe I can keep you two in order from not fighting. Don and Douglas chuckled. Alright then, laddie, let's move on. And Donald and Douglas popped away from the signal turned green. James followed. Meanwhile, what trouble was about to strike again, Ashima was racing down the line with a goods train. She was running a bit behind from schedule, and she wanted to get back on time. Must be on time, she said. She raced it down the line. But she didn't know there was trouble. There was some snowbanks onto the tracks, and more snow was starting to kind of fall. But Ashima was heading towards it. When Ashima saw the snowbanks, she applied her brake. It was no good. Ashima thundered into the snowbanks. She crashed through it and landed onto her side, like Emily. The trucks also derailed beside her. Ow, she said. Bother, said Ashima. Now I'm going to be late. Ashima knew she was going to cause confusion and delay. Meanwhile, James was still with the Scottish twins. They were clearing the snow very well. We're not doing a bad job, are we, laddies? Said Donald. No, we're not. Not Donny, said Douglas. That's good then, Dougie, said Donald. How's about you, James? Doing good as well, said James. Just then they heard a voice. Help! Huh? Said Donald. Who's that? Help! It sounds like a female engine, said Douglas. Help! I think that's a familiar voice. I think it's coming from... I think it's sort of snowside or something. Over here, said the voice. Please don't tell me Thomas has got stuck in the snow again, said Donald. I remember that day when he got stuck with the tree. Never like that now, said James. I can hear for help. Over here. The 2 engines raced over. They were surprised what they saw. They saw Ashima. It's Ashima, said Douglas. Ashima, are you alright? Said Donald. I'm fine, but I'm stuck in the snow. Looks like she crashed through a snowbank, said James. Lucky we got a Chinese breakdown quiz with us, said Don. Put them into good action, James. You got it. James was going to put them in action, but there was a problem. I can't. They're not in the right place. What do you mean they're not in the right place? Said Douglas. They're not in the right place, which means they can't reach Ashima. Well, bother, said Donald. Looks like we're going to go for help. Don't worry, Ashima. We'll be back soon, said Donald and Douglas together. We will, said James. We got to go and find help immediately. Let's go, laddies, said Donald, and Douglas and James raced after him. I'll be back soon, said Ashima. It was getting cold. Meanwhile, Henry was down on the main line. He stopped at a signal. When the Scotch twins and James raced up, they saw Henry and stopped. Henry knew something wasn't right. Hello, you three, said Henry. What seems to be the problem? It's Ashima, said Douglas. She's fallen off the tracks, said James. And the Chinese breakdown crane are not in the right position, said Donald. Yes, said James. I tried, Hen, but they wouldn't do the correct work. Henry taught and taught. But then he remembered. He knew he was a rescue engine. Then he had an idea. Tell you what, James, you better do something with the Chinese breakdown cranes. Maybe bring them back to your yards or something if you want. So I think I got a perfect idea. Three engines. Just looked at Henry very carefully. You three go back to James. You might have dropped the Chinese breakdown cranes off somewhere. Well, maybe like a next siding or something you can see. Sure thing, said James. And then you can go back to the crash site and maybe clear up some of the bit of snow. Now and I'll go and get Julie and Jerome, since I'm being a rescue engine for the day. Wait, what? Said James, a rescue engine? What are you on about? Henry explained about he taking Emily's place and staying at Technosheds and doing her work. Whoa, that's amazing, said James. Indeed it is, said Donald and Douglas, but there's no time for the chat. Ashima needs us. Yes, said Henry. Henry said the tongue green. See you back there, and Henry raced off. We better get going, said James, as they raced off. At Harwick, Jane and Jerome were resting on their siding as usual. Henry soon arrived. He blew his whistle to wake them up. Wake up, you two, he said. Jane and Jerome waked up. Judy, Jerome, an emergency! What's the accident? Has somebody fallen off the tracks? Oh, I hope they're all right, said Judy. Someone has fallen off the tracks, said Henry. And it's Ashima. Well, Donald, Douglas, and James told me that she crashed through a snowbank or something, and she's off the track for a goods train. Right, said Judy and Jerome. Let's go, said Jerome. The workman's gone to the coach. Judy and Jerome are always ready for action when they're needed. And Henry, for the rescue engine today, puffed away with them. Back at the crash site, Donald, Douglas, and James were trying to clear some of the snow out of the way. Boy, this snow is a bit heavy, isn't it? You tell me, said James, as he cleared some of the snow on his tracks. Just then they heard Henry's whistle. That's Hen, said James. We better make some room. You got it. Don, Douglas, and James made some room. They went on other tracks. So Henry had to put June and Jerome into action. Henry soon away with June and Jerome. Where's Chinese breakdown crane? James asked Henry. Oh, we passed my yard, so I dropped him off there. There, Hen, said James. Good, said Henry. Well, June and Jerome, you better get into action. June and Jerome got their cranes up, got their arms up, which is the crane hooks, and they soon got to work. All right, then, let's get to work, they said. Now, said Henry, I think I got more ideas. Donald, you take the goods train, and James, can you bring Ashima to the steamworks? Not a problem, said James. Don't worry there, Henry, said Douglas. I'll stay here with you. You can control Jerome, and I'll clear some more of the snow out of the way. All right, Douglas, said Henry. Henry and all of his friends, including Jerome, all worked together. Though, have you? I got her front," said Jerome. "Have you got the back, Judy?" "Yes, Jerome. I got Ashima's was back. Right then, let's get moving." "Well," said Ashima. "Well, I never been lifted by a crane before. Well, not one of your Sodor cranes." "We got you," said Judy. Ashima was perfectly on the tracks. Her snowplow was a bit damaged as well, like Emily's. "Please. Hang on," said James. "I'll be back. I need to turn around." James' yard was nearby, and soon he came back. He bustled up to Ashima. Just then, they heard a car coming up. It was the back controller's car. He stepped out and walked over to Ashima. Two accidents in 2 days," said back controller. "This is great trouble." "I'm sorry, sir," said Ashima. "I was running bit behind." "It's all right, Ashima," said back controller. "You shouldn't really go fast when there's snow on the tracks, or even ice, for another example." "Sorry, sir," said Ashima. "Oh, never mind," said back controller. "Anyways, looks like James taking you to the steamworks. And Donald, I suppose, and who's taking the goods train?" "Me, sir," said Donald. "Good work," said back controller. "You may leave now, James." "Okay," said James. And Ashima pulled Ashima away. Right. James went to get the trucks. The trucks were lifted safely. "I want to clear some snow," said Douglas. Douglas went to clear up some snow. Donald, on the other hand, and buffled up to the goods train. And he puffed away with it. Henry was waiting for Jane and Jerome to have their crane arms back in position. Douglas puffed back. "All the snow is cleared up ahead," he said. "Thanks, Douglas," said Henry. Just then the back controller came. The back controller stepped out. "Henry, Douglas, you two have worked great with Donald and James today," said the back controller. "And Henry, I made a decision. You should be the rescue engine on this side of the island from now on." Henry was surprised. "Thank you, sir. I really enjoy it." "But what about Emily?" The back controller smiled. "Even though she has been causing trouble lately," said the back controller, "I have decided that she will be the rescue engine on the west side of the island." Henry was surprised, but still happy. "Okay, sir," he said. "Anyways, you can bring your drum back to Harwood now, Douglas. You better go and check see if there's any other engine in trouble." "Yes, sir." Factual walked away. "Let's get going now," said Douglas. "I think me and Don and James might call to the sheds this evening." "Okay then," said Henry. "See you there then." "See ya." And Douglas puffed away. Henry puffed away with Drew and Jerome. Late that evening at the shed, the steam team members were there, and so they heard 4 whistles. It was James, the Scottish twins, and Henry, as they all backed down. Henry, James, Donald, and Douglas backed down into the work sheds, and Henry then puffed in. There was all the engines blow their whistles. It was for Henry, Don, Douglas, and James, but especially Henry. As Henry backed down to Emily's spot beside Percy. See? Henry, Scottish twins, and James told about the whole rescue mission. The engines were impressed, and Henry told his exciting new job. All the engines were happy, especially James, the most of all. "Congratulations, Hen," he said. "You are one true rescue engine today. Or even better than me." Henry chuckled at his best friend. Well, Jane. You have experiences, and you can teach me more if you want. James smiled at his best friend. "Of course, I definitely will. And you two can help us clear snow any time," said Donald Douglas. "Ah," said James. "I'll have the Chinese breakdown crews ready on duty." Henry and the other engines chuckled. Good. "Oh," said Spencer. So, thank goodness this time no diesel had to wear snowplows like when we had to rescue Rebecca. "Yes," said Gordon. "Oh, enough about that, you two," said Rebecca. Now, said Neil. "Yes," said Thomas and Percy. "Let's just be happy for James, Scotland's and Henry's rescue mission and Henry's new job." The engines just talked throughout the evening when James, Don, Douglas were visiting. They talked about the day's work and the rescue. I now Henry is a rescue engine. While Emily does do the west side of the island, Henry's happy to be working the rescue engine. All the engines are happy for Henry's new job, especially James. Speaking of which, James will probably have some rescue in our next story, but I'll have to wait until next time. Let's go, and have some adventures with Thomas and Norris when Sodor's greatest adventures.